tenant moves into your property and everything is exactly how it's supposed to be. The walls are clean, the floors are solid, there's no smells, no damages, no issues. It looks like something you're proud of. It's ready. 3 months go by. Then the rent stops. No warning, no explanation, no message saying what's going on. Just silence. Now you're pulling up to your own property already knowing something's off. Because when communication disappears like that, it's never small. Upon opening the door, you know immediately. The smell hits you. Heavy, stale, clearly not the same from the smell alone. Then you actually start looking around. The walls that were white when the tenant moved in don't even look white anymore. They look grayed out, dull, like old concrete. There's trash buildup. Not just one bag, not even two, but enough that you can smell it's been sitting. The kitchen isn't being used the way it's supposed to be used. The floors are sticky, worn down in spots where people just kept walking over mess instead of cleaning it up. And then you see the thing that tells you this didn't happen last week. Dog waste on the floor more than once. That means at some point that became normal inside the unit. You're not even thinking about rent anymore. The damage, the cost, and how long it's going to take to bring this place back is all you can think about. If you're a landlord and dealt with them, you've heard it before. This is what nobody tells you, they say. They tell you about money. They tell you about cash flow. But they don't tell you about the tenants destroying your property. And that sounds right. It feels right. Hell, it even looks right. But it's wrong. Because this didn't start like this. This didn't start from clean, or this didn't go from clean to destroyed in one moment. This was built step by step. And here's the part most landlords don't want to hear. You trained it. Not on purpose, but clearly. Because somewhere in those 3 months, signals showed up. Trash didn't start stacked. It started with one bag being left out too long. The dog didn't just start going everywhere. It happened once, and nothing corrected it. The walls didn't turn gray overnight. Maintenance stopped, and nobody reinforced what acceptable actually looks like. Rent didn't just disappear, it shifted. First, slowed down, became inconsistent before it stopped completely. So let's face the truth. Nothing got addressed, defined, nor reinforced early. So behavior filled the gap. That's how this happens. Now, most landlords respond one of two ways. They either blame the tenant, they're dirty, they're careless, they're just bad people. Or my personal favorite, they blame the game. This is just a part of real estate. You win some, you lose some. But both of those are wrong because neither one fixes anything. This isn't just a tenant problem, and it's not a part of the game. It's a system failure. And if you don't see that, you'll walk into this again. Different tenant, same outcome. Now let's stop talking in generalities and actually look at what changed. Because landlords didn't just go softer over time. The entire control mechanism got replaced. There was a time when property wasn't managed through systems. It was managed through proximity and immediate authority. The owner was tied directly to the property. They saw and heard what was happening in real time. Nothing had time to drift off. If something started slipping, cleanliness, behavior, upkeep, it didn't sit long enough to become normal because there was no separation between the owner and the condition of the property. Now look at what replaced that. You introduce property managers, maintenance chains, ticket systems, scheduled inspections, instead of constant awareness. And on top of all that, you introduce legal process instead of direct correction. At first glance, it looks like an upgrade, more organized, more scalable, and more professional. But here's what actually changed underneath. You created layers. Now, when something goes wrong, it doesn't go from tenant, decision, correction. It goes tenant notice. Tenant decides if it matters. Tenant reports. Management receives. Management prioritizes. Management schedules. Management shows up. Problem gets addressed. Not even solved. That gap, that's where your money disappears. Because behavior isn't corrected when it shifts. It's delayed, filtered, interpreted, cued. And here's the part nobody says out loud. The system you're using right now was built for documentation, not behavior control. It tracks issues, assigns responsibilities, protects you legally. But it doesn't stop behavior from degrading in real time. So tenants adjust. They stop reacting immediately. They start waiting. They start testing. They start lowering their standards to match your response time. That's the real downgrade. Not the buildings, not the tools, not even the technology. Behavior control got replaced with process management. And process management always reacts slower than behavior shifts. That's why you're seeing what you're seeing today. So, if you're trying to fix this, you don't fix the destruction. You fix the first moment that led up to it. That's the difference. Here's what this actually looks like. You define standards before someone ever lives there. Not buried in the lease, in behavior. Trash doesn't sit. Animal waste doesn't get tolerated. The conditions of that unit stay close to how it was handed over. Not suggestions, standards. Then you install visibility early. Not random check-ins. Not we'll stop by sometimes. Structured. 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Because if you would have walked that unit at 30 days, you never see month 3 like this. Then you define response. The moment something is off, you address it, not emotionally, not aggressively, just clearly. This isn't how the property is kept. This needs to be corrected now. This is the standard moving forward. And then you reinforce it. That's the part most landlords skip. They say something once, then disappear, then get mad. That doesn't build anything. That creates exactly what you walked into. Because behavior doesn't change off one conversation. It changes off repetition. It changes when people see every time something shows up, it gets addressed the same way. It changes when they see that standards don't move based on mood, timing, or convenience. Now here's where it shifts. When you can run this correctly, you don't just prevent destruction. You start filtering people. The ones who align with structure, well, they get stronger, they stay clearer, cleaner, they stay consistent, they stay paying. The ones who don't, they show themselves early. Before the damage compounds, before the cost hits, before you're standing in a destroyed unit trying to figure out what happened. That's the real difference. It's not better tenants. It's better structure. Train, protect, prosper. That's the goldmine way. I teach before I tax. I partner before I punish. I build people, therefore I protect property. That's not a slogan. That's the operating standard. So when you look at your properties now, don't start with what's broken. Start with what was never clearly defined, where tenants are still guessing, where your response still changes depending on timing, pressure, and how busy you are. Because that's where your money is actually going. Not at the moment everything collapsed. At the moment something small showed up and nobody stepped in to define what it meant. That's where you lost control. And that's exactly where you take it back.